Man, what is going on, y'all? Before I start, I just wanted to thank y'all for the love on this video. I love reading all the comments and all that. Before I start, I just want to let y'all know that my memberships are currently still up. But right now, for a Christmas deal, y'all can get 2 hours of coaching for the price of one, just this month only. To check that out. I appreciate all my members and my super members. I've been trying to keep up with that, even through posting, but just want to thank y'all for watching anyway. Of course, you don't need to subscribe to anything at all. Just y'all being here is good enough. Drop a like and a sub and all that. Appreciate y'all. In my builder here, I have a list of the 5 best restricteds, which of course we ranked. I took the 5 best that we ranked, and I have specific sets for the Pokemon themselves and common partners you guys should consider running. Just a run through of all these, whether you're playing game set or you are playing one of these comps. It's probably important to know all this. To start off with, we got the world champion Miraidon. And the most common set y'all see, of course, is the Electro Drift, Discharge, Volt Switch, Draco set. This is super common. More than likely, it'll be Max. They actually do rotate between Modest and Timid quite a bit. I think Timid is the most common, however. The other set that will be run is this Fairy set. This is super common also with specs. It's really good because you don't have to pair ground types with your Miraidon. And Terra Fairy Lima is just crazy. Beats other Miraidon that don't have the Terra Fairy, so I really like this set as well. I think both of these are really strong. Of course, we have some other sets. This is a little bit niche. I saw this on ladder, but this is actually really cool. It's like a fast rating bolt. So you have the Electro Drift, crazy damage, Volt Switch, and I really like Snarl and Dragon Pulse. Dragon Pulse allows you to maintain the damage after you use a Dragon move, and they paired it with a Wo-Chan. I think you could also just pair this with an Incineroar to lower the attack, but it's really cool because you have like damage reduction on both ends of the spectrum, a ton of damage. You just have a ton of versatility with this Miraidon set. This is really cool. You should consider this. I think Scarf is usable. I think the most common use case would just be Okoing things before they move, or Volt Switching out if you can't afford to do that, of course. I think this will be less common. I think this will be very far and few between, but it is usable. I think this thing has enough damage where you can afford to go to a Choice Scarf. And finally, if y'all want to get freaky, this is a cool set. I actually think this is usable. Pair this thing alongside a Moongus, something like that. Another Redirector, some Overpawns. This is really cool. You can Calm Mind and Parabolic Charge, which you're going to heal a lot back. Defensive Terror probably, and I think the best part about this set is it lets you run Protect. I think you could also just consider running what's the move? Electro Drift. Consider just running this set as well, since Parabolic Charge is quite a bit less damage. And checking out some common partners, you guys won't be surprised to see Burgraph and number 1. These things almost always run Terra Ground when they're beside a Miraidon. I mean, even if you don't have Discharge, it's just really nice because having this thing in the mirror is really nice. I think with these ground they like to run Terra Blast. You can also just run Psynoise or Psychic. Foul Play, pretty common on these guys, and I think Protect is a valuable move in this format. It's pretty good. Jugulis is a mon that I've been seeing coming up on these sets. I think the coolest thing you can do is run either Sash, Cobra Cloak, and then lead this thing beside your Miraidon. You have so many options, right? With with Air Slash, you cover the grass types of Miraidon. Is probably the only thing that Miraidon strikes into is grass types. You help deal with them with Air Slash. Snarl just destroys Calyrex Shadow, and of course because you're getting the Quark Drive boost beside the Miraidon, you're gonna be faster than it. Tailwind, of course, that's just a really obvious play. And Protect. I think between Covert Cloak and Sash, both are pretty good. I think on Cloak sets I'd run Terra Water instead. Otherwise, I think Jugulis is actually really interesting right now. Really interesting addition to Miraidon teams. Another classic, Blood Moon. I think this thing is always paired on nearly always paired on the Discharge sets. Just because you discharge beside this thing and clear the board with Hyper Voice, Blood Moon, anything like that. I don't think there's much to say. I think this thing's still really good. I think I was using this thing off of Miraidon teams, which is kind of the only thing that it was used for in the past, and it was still going crazy. So I really like this. Another Calyrex check as well. Calyrex Shadow does not deal very well with this thing. Ogerpon Hearthworm is really cool with this. Again, one of Miraidon's only struggles is those grass types. This thing destroys them. You have Follow Me if you don't need to be doing damage at that very moment. You have, I mean, just overall, like, I think Overpon is one of the best Pokemon in the format, supporting Pokemon. So yeah, this shouldn't be surprising to see either. And finally, Whimsicott. I think I heard people like bring up the argument that, you know, you don't need Tailwind on Miraidon, it's good enough, which I agree, but I think Tailwind mirrors are tough on this thing, and I understand why you'd bring this guy. I think Light Screen is a cool adaptation that people have been running to make this thing more useful past just Tailwind Moonblast. Like, if you're just sitting there doing Tailwind, it's not going to be enough. With Light Screen, you have, you know, you can have passive turns and get value. So, of course, lastly, Grimmsnarl is going to be an amazing Pokemon to pair beside this. Just the screens, parting shot stuff. Yeah, I think that's a list of Miraidon partners. Now, before I touch on the horses, I just wanted to make a general rule of thumb. I'd say if I'm building with the horses, I think Calyrex Ice, the most important thing of the way you build out this team is probably going to be its Terra type. The Terra type will affect pretty much how the team functions, because it depends on how what matchups your Calyrex Ice Rare can deal with. And Shadow, on the other hand, I'd say you build out this thing by its item. Whatever item this thing has is going to dictate how it plays, and you're going to see this in the sets. I'm going to show you all the sets. The 4 main sets come from this thing's items. Sash is having a resurgence right now. It's pretty strong, I'd say. The best part of this thing is that you can run just max, and almost always beat other Calyrex Shadow, because even if you lose a speed tie, you're probably going back, you know, save a Terra. Terra Ghost, probably the most common. Psychic, Psyshock is also probably just as common. Expanding Force on these Indeedee teams. And then we have, this is actually a really cool set. I really like this Life Orb Training Kiss set. I think another really strong, maybe a stronger version would be this with Terra Ghost, Ash Barrage, Psychic Substitute. I really like this with Life Orb. I think it's really cool. Of course, the warning being like, you're doing damage to yourself through Substitute and Life Orb. It's a little bit difficult to play, and I think I'd only play this if I had a Rillaboom on my team specifically. I think Substitute is going to be hard to play otherwise. Choice specs, and this is a chance to mention the Terra Dark. I don't know what to call it. It's not an epidemic, but people have been using it. Terra Dark it's pretty good. It wins the mirror pretty effectively. You deal with Incineroar quite well. I think that's probably the coolest thing. You turn Incineroar from like, you just wall it just walls you to, you know, you can Nasty Plot in its face. So I really like that. And of course, if your choice specs, you just spam Astral Barrage in his face. So I like this set. I think Expanding Force is probably going to be the most common move with this thing, of course, beside Indeedee. And finally, we have the Cloak set. I think this thing is getting a little bit less usage. It never was the craziest usage, but this is a pretty good set anyway. This thing allows you to not get hit by no Icy Winds, anything like that. No Snarls. You don't get hit by Fake Out after Terra Water. I just think it's like a little bit slower when you compare it to like this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, you could be running Shadow Tag here. Shadow Tag is another really, not Shadow Tag, Spell Tag. My bad. If you're running Spell Tag here, another really common move that these things will run. I think that both of those items are pretty low usage currently, but still completely usable. And for some partners, starting with Incineroar. I think Incineroar is probably the favorite partner for this thing. I think it just pairs so well with Calyrex. Of course, it has a really good special defense that Calyrex does, and by intimidating things, by parting shotting, you let your Calyrex live quite a few things. This is gonna be really good with Cloak sets, very usable with like Spell Tag, those kinds of sets. And Rocky Helmet is, I just wanted to show you all this. It's a really good, if y'all haven't been playing any ladder, it's just everywhere. So make sure y'all check out Rocky Helmet. It's pretty cool, and I'd say that it does really nice on these Calyrex teams, because Calyrex does have a little bit of a weakness to Urshifu, and of course Incineroar does as well. So you help yourself out by making the thing take 3 hits of Rocky Helmet and then having to deal with it. So it's pretty cool. Indeedee, I think Indeedee is probably one of the more underexplored partners with this thing. I think it was Taro Okada who did really good with Expanding Force. Indeedee, I don't remember which Indeedee it was, but regardless, This thing is a really good Pokemon just because it mirror breaks Calyrex for one. That's really nice. And then when you pair with other slower Pokemon such as Incineroar, Blood Moon is usable with these teams. You can set up situations where you bait your opponent's Astro Brushing in front of normal types, Trick Room in front of them, and then just sweep the game, which is really cool. Raging Bolts is gonna be pretty strong with this guy. I think Electro Web is gonna be amazing with this thing because you sit in front of other Calyrex, you protect Electro Web, and they get dropped and you're outspeeding. Deal with Urshifu, like I said, Calyrex has a little bit of an Urshifu problem, especially because a lot of them are Scarf or Sash nowadays. So another really natural partner with this thing is gonna be Chi-Yu, of course. These support sets will usually run, there's usually no Snarl here. Snarl, Flamethrower, they'll run Heat Wave, maybe Overheat. And then they'll choose between Will-O-Wisp or Taunt. Usually Protect will be the last move. I have seen no Protect Chi-Yu, but they're uncommon. I just want to show you all the possible moves to run though. And finally, probably the best Calyrex Shadow partner is going to be Urshifu, just because it pairs so well with dealing with Incineroar, the close combat for things like Pagos, to touch things like Fairdraft. It's just a really good mon, and it just really works really nicely with Calyrex. Moving on to Ice. Now, like I said, Calyrex Ice, its sets will generally depend on the Terra type it has. I think Fire, Poison has been run. Dragon is really good. And even Normal gets usage. Grass is, of course, another really common type. These are some of the most common types, and I think you'd be really surprised not to see this set. Like, I think this is the most common things. Like, it's Glacial Lance, Highest Power, Trick Room, Protect, Clear Amulet. It's just really good, and it's hard to pass up on. However, we have seen Never Melt Ice, as y'all will know. I think I'd pair this with Close Combat, just so you can deal with Incineroar a little bit better. But I think this will generally do better when we see, like, meta-related drops towards Incineroar. I think right now Incineroar is too good. We started the format up again, and people like using Fake Out. We've come back from a whole format of Incineroar. I don't think we're going to drop it for quite a bit. So I think Never Melt Ice is going to be a little bit weak for now. Assault Vest is a set that started popping up a lot more around the World Championships. One of the notable things about this is you can actually fit Crunch on this set. Like, one of the annoying things about Calyrex is it's so strong, but you can't pick up an Oko on Calyrex Shadow. Crunch changes that matchup completely. You tank things really easy with Assault Vest. Taking an Astro Rod really easy. You can run Terra Grass Sea Bomb, which is a really cool combo. You can also run. I've seen Terra Normal Facade, which is pretty cool. Terra Normal Facade. This is if you get Wisp. So there's some cool sets. And I guess I was showing the Terra Normal here as well. Sash is a usable set, I guess. Like, I can't really think of any other sets y'all would run this thing. Sash is usable. I'd probably run this with Terra Normal. I think this thing would just be something like a faster Calyrex. I think the EVs would look something like this, just so that you could play around maybe an Ogre Pawn or something like that, but this might be niche. Looking at Calyrex Ice partners, of course, you guys aren't going to be surprised to see that it's a bunch of Trick Room partners as well as some other additions. Incineroar, of course, probably the best Pokemon to pair beside this thing. I'd say Taunt is probably preferred in general. It depends on what matchups you're looking to beat, right? For example, I'd say if you have a Terra Grass Calyrex, you might be more interested in running Wisp because you don't need to taunt the Amoonguses anymore. However, if you're running a Terra Fire Calyrex, you might be more interested in running Taunt, right? So all usable. Just Standard and Incineroar. Amoongus, another really strong Pokemon to pair with Calyrex, and of course you'll see the trio of these three: Calyrex, Incin, Amoongus. Standard set. I think these will generally run Pollen Puff on Calyrex teams. I think the Sludge Bomb, Clear Smog nonsense is gonna fade away. Cloak is another really usable item. This thing, which is awesome. So there's that. Valiant is a newer addition to the squad. This thing is actually really fast. It has really nice move in Spear Break, and coaching is really nice beside Calyrex Ice, as well as Wyguard to help deal with other Calyrex Shadow. It's just really good support. It's kind of like, I compare it to Annihilate support beside Trick Room on. It's like, this is what's gonna help you get Trick Room off worst case and best case, this thing's just gonna coaching in your face, right? So it's actually a really nice partner, I'd say, to pair beside the thing. Raging Bolt, I'd say the booster energy sets are probably better. Just damage under Trick Room. You know, once Trick Room wears out, you thunderclap things. It's just a really strong combo. Deal with things like Urshifu. Yeah, this is just a really strong mod to pair beside. And finally, Fergraph has been popping up more and more beside these Calyrex teams, simply because Calyrex Ice, kind of one of the only things it struggles against is actually that Calyrex Shadow. So using another normal type like Fergraph, you can, you know, protect Trick Room, catch the opponent off guard, and you can play around a normal type that also conveniently does not allow them to fake out in front of you, which is really nice. You can destroy Iron Hands. Like, Iron Hands can be kind of annoying for these Trick Room teams. Yeah, it's completely useless when you just side noise it every time. So, really cool. Moving on to Terapagos. Now, Terapagos, I'd say, is a Pokemon that generally comes and goes, depending on how the meta is shaping. It's more reliant on the way other restrictions are doing, which is interesting. But the most common sets you'll see, I'm going to post. These are all, I'd say, just as common as each other. So these are all like really important to know. The Leftovers, Calm Mind, Earth Power, Terra Starstorm set is probably the most common set you'll see. This is just a standard setup set. You'll see this set also beside Covert Cloak. You also see substitutes sometimes. I think Earth Power is more common in general, I'd say. But regardless, you're going to see these two sets the most. It's going to be either between Cloak or Leftovers. You're going to see Rillaboom on Leftovers teams more likely. And you're going to see some, you know, damage reduction, redirection stuff with Covert Cloak stuff. Specs, still really usable. Starstorm, Hyper Beam is a new tech that we ended up seeing. And of course, Sleep Talk. Just another really strong set. I like this set a lot. And finally, this has been popping up, this power up stuff. Like with Terra Stellar, of course, you get the powered up Meteor Beam, the powered up Earth Power, and of course the Terra Starstorm. It's okay. I think in general, you're gonna see these sets more often. This is usable. You're gonna see this more on Tailwind teams. And some partners. Of course, standard Rillaboom. Rillaboom loves to be beside Pagos. They're just so bulky. The Rillaboom with the Assault Vest and the Pagos with this crazy defense, they just pair so well together. You have a fake out, you heal up your own Pagos. It's really nice. Terra Ground is like, the nice thing about Rillaboom is you can adjust the Terra, I'd say, to beat Restricted. Like, if there's any Pokemon that can beat Restricted, it's Rillaboom, possibly through Terra Ground to beat what's his face, Miraidon. Or you can run Terra Normal. This is a really cool tech versus Miraidon, I'd say. Terra Normal into U-turn. You live the Astral Barrage, bring in whatever you want. Really cool tech. Otherwise, of course, Incineroar will be another common partner. I don't have really much to say here. It's just Incineroar. Tornadus will be really common on the spec sets. Whimsicott is also usable, but yeah, I think Tornadus is really nice here with Taunt. And with Pagos' ability to shut down the terrain, the weather, no matter what else it is, and then also having a taunt on top of that, it's just really nice to, you know, ensure you get a taunt through. For example, they can't psychic drain your taunt anymore. They, you know, they're gonna be forced to, you know, whatever, you know, you get my point. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, Cloacamungus, the Spore, Rage Powder, Palm Puff, not the Teleport, Protect. This, I think this set will be more common with Covert Cloak, if it isn't already on the Pagos, just so you can get these Rage Powders off, these Palm Puffs off, between Fake Out. I don't really have to explain too much as to why this is good. It's just a great Pagos partner again. And finally, Fair Draft, another really common Pagos partner. You just avoid Fake Out. You kind of do the job of Covert Cloak without having a Covert Cloak. Allows you to run Specs or Leftovers and not get faked out. So I think Pagos has probably the most traditional partners out of any of these. And finally, taking a look at Zamazenta. Now, Zamazenta, this thing will run, for the most part, it'll run these 4 moves. I think the most important thing is its Terra type. This thing will run a lot of Terra types, actually. Dragon, probably the most common we saw. If not that, then it was Grass for sure. and we also saw water being used. We saw, I think there was fairy. I think so. There was flying for sure. So there's a couple of really nice Terras on this guy. Again, like I had the same set but with a dragon type. And the other usable set is Iron Defense. You'll normally see another Protect. This thing will usually get dropped for Wide Guard. Wide Guard will be dropped for this. But there are some other moves I guess you can run. I have seen these tech moves. This will usually be the third move on Zamazenta. As we'll see, like this thing will commonly pair with Pelipper, and Pelipper loves to run Wide Guard. So some teams will use one of these tech moves. I won't say that they'll use all of these. I'm just trying to show y'all which ones they'll use. This thing does get Snarl. Of course, if y'all play Sword and Shield, you'll know Coaching and Howl are some really strong moves to get. Both really usable. This thing's really fast, so you can take advantage of these both really effectively. And Crunch will allow you to one-shot Calyrex. So, some common partners. Chien-Pao is probably the most common partner we saw, just because when you pair this thing with side body press, it does so much damage. And of course, having the Dark type to deal with the Ghost types is perfect. Chien-Pao is an awesome partner. I don't gotta go too much into depth. Fluttermane, I kind of left the set incomplete because I think a lot of sets work with these really nicely. Zama and Fluttermane work really nicely together. Again, Fluttermane can deal with these Ghost types. Zama deals with the normal types. And then the other really nice thing is you can Wide Guard on your own Fluttermane, which allows you to do things like boost your energy to outspeed and then, you know, put 2 attacks into the opposing Calyrex, whether you need to Terra Fairy, Moonblast into Shadow Ball, or whatever it is, you know. And then of course Icy Wind to speed up the rest of your team. I think this is really, really nice. Again, really natural partner. Another really natural partner is going to be Pelipper. Like I said, these will usually be the ones running Wide Guard. Sometimes they'll run 2 Wide Guards. I've seen that. Sometimes they'll run 1 Wide Guard and Tailwind. Everything usable. This thing's amazing. It just sets up the rain. You don't take Fire type super effective anymore. Yeah, it's really, really strong. And Golden Go is another mon we saw being used besides Zamazenta. Again, hitting those Ghost types. Natural Steel typing, you have the Wide Guard for Calyrex Shadow, which means you can run other Terra types beside normal, which is what a lot of people are running. You can do things like, for example, Terra Flying maybe. Of course, this is the Terra I ran at Worlds. Terra Flying allows you to Wide Guard. You can dodge high horsepowers from Calyrex, and then they can't hit you with that, or Glacial Lance beside a Zamazenta. So another really cool partner. I really like the setup nature of both of them, like the way they set up each other, Nasty Plot and Wide Guard. So this is really cool. And finally, Rillaboom. Rillaboom is really, really nice beside this thing. Again, just the healing. You bring this thing in, Fake Out. Again, Terra Normal U-Turn is a really cool tech I'd use on this thing. Again, in front of Calyrex Shadow, you can Terra Normal, protect your Zamazenta, U-Turn out, and then bring something else in. Cool tech. Anyways, I've been rambling for a bit. I hope y'all enjoy this. I just wanted to go a little brief rundown. I'm going to be trying to upload more often. In terms of life updates, like, I've gotten more space in terms of like place to actually record. So I'm going to be trying to record more often. I hope y'all enjoy this. I hope I wasn't going too fast. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.